Welcome to Three Questions, where critical thinking is king, and my opinions and research are only here to support your learning and deeper understanding. Hi, my name is Meghann, and I am your host of Three Questions, and I am really excited you clicked on today's episode because I have a very, very special guest of the name Kelly Kane. Hello, Kelly Kane. Yes, yes. And if you're listening to this on, Spotify or Apple, she's doing something ridiculous with her hands, which is very on brand. But what I want to say before we even get into it, I'm going to tell a story. So, Kelly, you're going to have to sit there and look interested. I am personally grateful to you, Kelly Kane, because you brought me back to my love of movement. You've had a lot of students, so I don't assume you remember the story, but maybe you do. So I had sold my Pilates studio that I had had for 5 years, which was very successful because I didn't have any openings, but I was making no money. So not really successful. You know the deal.
Yeah.
And I was burnt out and I lost my passion for things. So I was planning on going to work for my dad as an insurance consultant, which I know it sounds very exciting. But long story short, I found Kane School in New York City, and I'm looking, and we spoke on the phone, and we just kind of vibed immediately. So what really drew me to Kelly and the work is your critical thinking and your weirdness. Like, you're a bit weird, right? Agreed?
Sure.
I mean, like, am I normal? And it was just interesting. It started my professional journey again. I was going to give up teaching movement with a master's degree. All that stuff was about to give up movement. So I'm so grateful that you ignited my passion for movement again. And I'm pretty sure I'm probably not the first person who's told you that.
Yeah, luckily, I feel very proud of that. I mean, I think that, in terms of the Pilates world, for sure, I was not, at that time when we met each other, I was not in the mainstream at all because I was more interested in like what might be called somatics and biomechanics. And
Well, wasn't that before somatics was somatics? I mean, you like wax poetic about a shoulder for like hours in a way that was very exciting, uniquely Kelly, but still grounded in biomechanics and science. Because I came from a science background, right? And, young people with our egos, I was quick to point out when some of these Pilates teachers said the wrong thing. So you were the first, and I didn't say it to them, I thought it. You were the first Pilates teacher, in my opinion, that took the time to understand your intuition to try to teach it to others.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm really proud of that.
So being around people who wanted to elevate the conversation motivated me to get back to what I love and elevate the conversation and be the person in neuro and just kind of keep going. But something I do is I really always want to credit the people for me or who were there for me, who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
So now that we've told that story, Kelly told me a story off camera that I don't remember, but I guarantee I said it. So like, you're going to have to go to YouTube because if I said to Kelly, what are you, the Steve Jobs of Pilates? She's wearing a black turtleneck, but tell me why you wore the black turtleneck.
Because during the pandemic, you were working at Connected and we were meeting online. We were doing like these like Friday cocktail hours, like more just.
I think you were doing that HIIT class just to like get people moving. Wasn't that it?
This was during, I think, one of our Friday evening Connected, like getting together. And you were like, you said something to me like, you're in that black turtleneck again. And I was like, wow, this is all I got.
Oh, you said, I think it was, we were going around like, oh, what did you learn new about one of your coworkers? And I think rudely, I was like, well, I learned Kelly only has one shirt.
Yeah, so I wore my black turtleneck or a different
Thank you. But now I feel like I like the name better. You're now the Steve Jobs of Pilates to me. So there you go, which I think is a pretty big compliment.
Nice.
So, guys, I am not going to spout out all Kelly's accolades because I won't even do them justice. I don't remember all them. I'm going to put a full bio. I would love you to go to the show notes and read them. But again, Kelly's background is in biomechanics, fitness, somatics, all these things before there was actually words. Okay? So, why I want to jump ahead is I feel like we have so much to talk about, and I like to keep these episodes tight because apparently people have lives and they don't like to listen to me all day long. I mean, who thought? So I'm going to jump right into question 1. As I said, you are one of the first Pilates educators to critically think and to use intuition as a way to teach in a way that, with all due, wasn't hokey. Okay?
Yeah.
It was grounded in biomechanics. It was a bit radical. So tell me, looking back now, what made you lean into that? What allowed you to trust yourself to say, fuck it, I'm not teaching this way, I'm going that way?
I think, my training was in anatomy and biomechanics, and and in manual therapy. So I dropped out of medical school or a pre-med program to go to massage school. And in massage school, I realized that as human beings, we can sense and feel a whole range of things that we just don't practice feeling. It's just not part of our culture. It's not important to, I guess, success in this culture. And so I kind of, had this long history of assessment through anatomy as like a map on every individual. But then I would hold people's hands, put that map on their body, and see what their body said to me. Or simply, if I held people's hands, I could feel up the chain. Like, I knew all the structures more or less. I mean, I'm constantly reviewing my anatomy, but
Yeah, but you're pretty tight up. You're good there. I'll vouch.
I feel like we always have to study.
Oh my God, I have to review. I mean, I still do. And when I stopped teaching anatomy, I kind of got a little less sharp at it.
Yeah.
But can I interject to ask another question?
Yeah.
Is working with a lot of teachers, I find sometimes they try to see it through my eyes, right? And what I've learned is the people who have a woo-hooey intuition, I hate that word. It's not woo-hooey. There's science behind it. There's structure behind it. So what I have found is I've met students who actually see color. They feel energy. And I feel like you're one of them. Do you identify it as you feel the energy fields? You see colors? Like, is there anything that kind of, or is it just a sensation you have?
So it's changed. It changes all the time, and it changes with the individual. What I'm always trying to do is not project. Like, I've spent a lot of years trying to cultivating my capacity to perceive and not project onto the individual in front of me. So there are times, like when I put my hands on someone, I'm trying to just feel what this body in front of me wants to tell me. There's been years where I would see stories. I would see, I remember once I saw a liver that was like, had a face on it that was like, right?
Was it a drunk liver?
Well, there was a liver issue. So what I try to do is dissolve projection and dissolve I think that what we do is we see what we know. And I really try to not do that. I really try to be.
I love that.
Vessel.
Not anticipating.
No, like I really try not to, like I'm scanning through the anatomy. So if I hold someone's hands, I know all the anatomy in their hands up to their shoulder and to the neck, brachial plexus, all the things. And I most of the time is just try to center myself, and the question that comes through me is like, what does this body want me to see? What does this soul want me to see? What does this person need that they might not even know they need, but their body will communicate it to me. And I don't think it's magic. I don't think what I do is magic. I think I've just been practicing it a long
No,
time.
but I hate when people, I don't like when teachers diminish their skill to magic or voodoo. That is disrespectful to your gifts. I think, I've had teachers be like, I don't know, I just always know where to put my hand. I'm like, bullshit. Why do you put your hand there? Is it always hot? Is it cold? Like, trying to figure out. And I kind of love that you don't have a word for it. And maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you don't think it needs a word. You're like, that doesn't bother me if it doesn't have a word.
No, I think it's like I think all humans can do what I do. Like I really do. I think we have, as animals, we have the capacity to sense and feel in myriad ways, which we don't because we don't practice it. And I think that this is the way that I figured out how to practice sensing and feeling. And a lot of times I think it has to do with like, fluids and because I did body mind centering, we did a lot of focusing on how the fluids move in the body. I work with a lot of people now up in the Northeast that have Lyme, and I can feel like often what's happening on a cellular level, and it's very interesting. It's common like amongst a lot of different people.
Yeah.
I can like, and it's that, I think it's just that thing of really asking the body to show me the thing. And as a human animal, I get to feel because I've just tried.
And going back to the first question I asked is, there's a lot of teachers out there like you who are intuitive, and sometimes they shy away or people are like, oh, voodoo and stuff like that. Like, what gave you the confidence? Like, how did you lean into it? What would be the advice? And I always say, like, I like to clarify my questions as we go because I didn't get the answer I wanted. So I'm going to ask again, not because you didn't answer my question. I didn't ask a good question. Mm-hmm. What would you say to someone who's like you, who isn't finding success because they can't lean into it? Mm-hmm. Give me the Kelly. You would probably tell them to.
I think it's like, I do think it's this thing of fake it till you make it. I really believe in faking it till you make it, and keep trying and keep, I often think about this, I don't know what the quote comes from, but see what everyone else sees, but think like no one else thinks. And so like continuously refining our capacity to listen in myriad ways, I think is really one of the biggest things. Like, how do I listen with my heart? How do I listen with my hands? How do I listen with my eyes and my like kind of spidey sense, how do I listen in those ways? And I think that I do see with students, so much of teaching is about interpersonal relationship. It's about understanding how the body moves, understanding the choreography, understand how to program. And I always felt like if I could really truly listen to the body in front of me and see that body in front of me, then I could really program in a way that felt meaningful. And I think that takes time. Like it takes, I don't know how many years.
But when we're done learning, it's like time to die. Are you ready to die yet? No, you got shit to do.
Yeah, and I think I go through cycles. I worked in a studio recently where up in Vermont, where the woman who owned the studio, it was hard to accept, I think, for her to accept that part of me. And so I really dampened that part of me to support what she was doing. Like she had a very clear mission for her studio, and I wanted to, like, I've owned studios, right? So I wanted to be supportive to her brand and to what she was doing there. And even though I was renting space there, I wanted to create like a community. And part of that process for me was dampening that part of me.
Yeah.
And
I don't
what
love hearing that though.
I know. Well, it's interesting. We never, I didn't even know I was doing that really until I was out of that space.
But maybe there's more to that. It's like, I talked to a client, he big time CEO, retired really young, and I say it's like, owning the company and owning the neuro studio. It's like, yeah, people are looking up to you, but at some point people aren't going to want to listen to you anymore. It's like, how do we deal with those transitions and talk about it and be honest about it? So I love that you're like, yeah, I've been on top. I've been here. Everybody listened to me, but maybe it was a time to take a step back. And maybe I can take a lesson from that and everybody else listening.
I mean, I really, when I moved to Vermont, no one knew what my history was. Like, no
Yeah.
one. And so
Well, a lot of teachers have a problem with that. I won't mention names, but
yeah. But it was interesting for me to be the newbie, right? To be like, I'm not the person where, people are coming to me for my authority, right? I really found it interesting to be the person who people didn't, no one knew who I was. Every once in a while, someone would show up and be like, wait a minute, I heard
Yeah.
some things about you.
But don't you think that's more exciting though? I mean, when I started at Connected and worked with you, I had already been teaching for like 15 years, and I'm coming in and all these girls who were new teachers thought that they were more senior than me because they didn't know me. But it was such a good, humbling experience. Like, shut up and work.
Yeah, shut up. I agree. And I think it's good to understand how to help incoming teachers navigate coming into a new space. Like, what does that look like? How are you going to define your personal brand within the system? And that's part of what I was doing. And how are you going to express yourself within a specific community? Because when I was living in New York, I was working with professional dancers. Like I was working with some of the most, trained bodies on the planet. And coming here, I'm working with people mostly it's either high performance athletes or by and large, people between 60 and 95. And many of them it's not that they're not athletes, but they are aging athletes, alpine athletes, horsewomen and men.
But I feel like those are your people. That's why I think you and I bonded. We were both old souls. I was like 94 when I was 5. Like worried about taxes, like asking my mom questions. She's like, what are you worried about? Like, go play with the kids. I wanted to gossip with the adults. I didn't want to play with the kids. But I feel like you were an old soul.
Maybe. Yeah, who knows?
You don't think?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, people used to say that to me when I was young, because
Yeah.
my parents died when I was a kid. And so there was in an accident. And so like in the lore of my family, I think like there was 2 things that people always used to say, that I was, mature beyond my years, and that I was always smiling.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to bring that up in a way if that was not a choice. But when I say old soul, it's just always feel grounded to the earth. Yeah. So I think my definition of an old soul is maybe not the correct one, but like always grounded and knows who you are. Like I kind of wanted to ask you that question and you be like, just be yourself. Like I just feel like you've always uniquely been yourself, which I think gives permission to everybody else around you to be themselves. Yeah. I don't think in my 20s I fully leaned into that as much as I am now. Like I'm kind of like, well, I am a little bit ornery. I am a little bit funny. Mm-hmm. I am a little bit lazy. Like it's just who I am. So So maybe you need to hear that, you give people permission to be themselves. So,
I like that. I mean, I think when your parents die, like for me, like I had to decide who I was, period. That came early to me. And it came with some coaching from my grandmother because she was the person who raised me. And so I think, and I'm raising two teenage girls. I raised one child who's now 29 and my daughter is 16. And I think like watching people, young women understand who they are and what they stand for is no small task. It's just, no, especially now. Like, I think it was a different time in the 80s. That's when I grew up. And I do think that there is a real crisis around that where it's like it feels really hard to be separate from the tribe because the tribe is global now.
you're like competing with people all over the world, and you're not competing. I was saying this to my niece who's 13. I was like, hey, I'm like on social media. And I was saying to my nephew, everybody's having the best time. But let's be honest, when have you ever had that good of a time? I mean, like, nobody's having that good of a time all the time. Like, happiness to me isn't like always doing great things. Like, happiness is sitting right here with you. Like, it's just, and I just feel bad for kids that there's always this comparison. Yeah. But I think I think, and I hope you take this as a compliment, is that you've always reminded me of my mother. Again, you just had a big birthday. You want to say it? 60, baby. And my mom is 73, so she's much older than you, but just like vibes. And I always compliment my mom because she's hard on herself. I'm going to kill my husband. He's printing something out while I'm recording. Joe, my sound guy, have fun with this one. I always those be dog barks. But my mom raised two daughters who actually like themselves, like each other, and have a good female group. And I see that with your girls. Raising two girls is not easy.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. My kids love each other. And that I think is that.
And they love you.
And they do. But it's a joy of any mother's life to like look at their kids and see that they really like each other. It really, truly is one of the things that makes me the happiest.
All right. My parents kind of enforced it, but Kim and I did not get along in high school. We're 18 months apart. We're very different. And I think we were jealous of each other on the things that we didn't have, but they had. But we really are best friends now. We are so close. I'm so grateful for her. So, as you know, my dad is sick right now. So just hearing you say that means a lot.
Yeah, it's important. It's really important.
It's hard, those realizations. Like, I looked at my parents one day and then I'm like, oh my God, how much more time do we have? It's almost like those thoughts, and I hate that you had to do that at such a young age, but it's like, it sucks.
Yeah. But you know what? This is the thing. I think I've seen a lot of people pass, it's been it's been part of my life, my whole life. I've been there when many people have died. And I really believe that there's such divinity and grace in the process of that walk. I think that as a human being, we become the caregiver of our parents, and that's like one of the many blessings I had caring for my grandparents when they were dying. And it's not easy. Like, it is so not easy. It's exhausting.
I try to keep my patience. I find when I lose my patience, I'm like, they wiped your ass. And not that I have to do that for my parents, but it's like, get it together.
Oh, yeah.
They've provided everything for you. Be patient.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
hard.
And I think that's like, it's a real blessing. Like, I did that with both my grandmother and my grandfather. And I remember so many hard days that I was exhausted and things were messy. And yet for me, it was like karma and the right thing to do. Like, they took care of me, so I wanted to take care of them. And I think that thing of divorcing death from life is really not the way that I've ever wanted to live. I've always wanted to be in presence of that process. I've always wanted it because
Yeah, and it's funny this thought just it reminded me of when I started working at your studio Connected. It was when I lost my cousin who was like my brother.
I remember that.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, he came in and was my body a lot.
Yeah, I remember.
So, but I like having these conversations. Like, I don't mind getting upset because I was like, oh, the sadness is so big because the love was bigger. But like, to be able to have these conversations, so it all goes back to, if you're listening to this and it's making you uncomfortable, I got to let you be uncomfortable. That's fine. I can't control the way you feel. But it's nice to have these conversations and talk about the good and the bad times, right? I feel like it helps us be better listeners. Because I knew that about your parents. I forgot. I forgot.
Yeah.
And, I don't always think I was a great listener when I was younger.
Yeah. I agree. I think I spent a lot of years, especially being a teacher, like talking. I spent a lot of years expressing my ideas.
You and I like to talk.
Yeah, I do like to talk. But
you keep attention. I'd listen to you all day.
But the thing that happens is when you age, you want to listen more. That's one of the things I found. I found that I've talked a shit ton and I want to listen to I want to listen to other people's ideas. I want to show up as a listener. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's actually something I've been working on this past year. And I've been hearing so many really interesting things lately, in a way that I'm grateful for, I am going to segue here only because we could talk for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I do have to mention, among your many accolades, you were one of the contributors to the Pilates application for health conditions book, right?
Yeah.
I got
this giant right here.
Yep. And what I found was great is the thing I liked about this book is a lot of diverse voices, a lot of people with different backgrounds, to be in the group. So my chapter was the Pilates for Parkinson's. Kelly's is aging, which I know Madeline was like, it's not really a condition, but I really wanted Kelly to do that chapter. It was important to Madeline to have you do that chapter.
Yeah.
Aging, and gait. So I don't know. We could talk about aging and all the things, but I feel like that's a boring conversation. What the question I really want to ask, because I feel like people need to hear this more, and I want to be part of the solution, is how can we encourage more collaboration and less competition in this industry? This is one of the reasons why I'm bringing the authors on the podcast. I just feel like if I want people to collaborate more and be less competitive, I have to be part of the solution. But do you have any insight in this?
I'm not a competitive person. I'm just not. And so for me,
say more.
Yeah, it always felt like I want to continue to broaden my community. And that's what I think is uniquely human. I need you, you need me. It's what we do as humans to better the collective, and I think that if there is division, I'm not really a part of it,
Well, maybe because, again, you're not really on social media, you're not really there anymore. But listen, it's a lot of, in my opinion, Kelly, it's a lot of scarcity mindset. Yeah. So my light shining bright is going to diminish yours? Absolutely not. My light shining bright is, hey, I used to work for Kelly. There's a lineage there. my light shining bright makes yours shine brighter, your light shines mine. And I feel like people say that a lot, but I do not see it. I try to comment on all my students' posts, not because I'm this great person. I just think it's important for teachers just to be supporting other teachers. And I have to be honest, I just feel like I'm banging my head up against the wall a bit. Am I wasting my time? Chill out, Meghann. What do you think?
Well, what do you mean? Like when you're talking to people, explain that more.
Girl, you know the Pilates industry. Don't
Yeah,
play coy with me.
yeah. But
But I love that you didn't partake in it. And Kelly, honestly, I don't either. But that's why I'm not really well known in the Pilates community.
yeah,
I kind of didn't want to go to the conferences. Like I didn't feel comfortable.
yeah,
And I feel like that's why our Kane School community kind of was so tight.
yeah,
But like I
yeah,
feel like the Kane School community is a little, we're in our own bubble. Like,
yeah. And
what if we branch out?
yeah. Well, I mean, I think that, you know, I've been in this, like, you had Madeline Elizabeth on. We all have been doing this a long time. Like I've had my teacher training for 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
seen all kinds of trends in the Pilates environment. And I do see this, I'm in the middle of the current trend, not in that I'm producing a million reformer Pilates teachers, but we're having a lot of people come to my teacher training who have done just like a reformer training, and they've done it at a specific studio, and that specific studio taught them their exercises, and then now they don't work at that specific studio anymore, and they're trying to get a job someplace else, and they realize they don't have the dexterity and the kind of a more comprehensive skill set to be able to move from studio to studio or build their own brand. And so I
People who were asking questions. That was always your audience, right? Am I wrong?
yeah, and people who want to like see, just think differently. People
Yeah.
want to think differently. And always been, that's always been my fantasy, is that people have the Kane School mark on them, but it's their brand, it's their way of seeing the world. But they have some kind of context and container. And
Okay. God.
yeah, and so I do think that and I really try to I don't judge. Really try not to judge people too, and I think that that's one of the things that I think it's endemic in the Pilates. It's part of the roots of the old school Pilates is to
It
be,
is.
it's like authentic Pilates versus Physical Mind Institute. They were like, it's our way, or the Physical Mind Institute was less so. But I think that is in the roots of the Pilates history, and I just like, I don't think we do. We just don't do it. We're not doing that. That's not what we do.
Yeah. So I guess the answer is either, and do you know Daria Bronstein
Yeah,
out in Santa Barbara? She's a
I
good
mean,
friend of mine. She developed the motor.
yeah,
She always said to me, I remember years ago, just find your tribe.
yeah,
And I love that. So maybe the question, guys, isn't because I have to be honest, I hate when people are like, oh, you have to support all women. I don't have to support all women. Men don't have to support all men. But I think you don't have to put women down. There's a big difference. But I think maybe the answer to the question is find your tribe
yeah,
and be supportive for the people in your tribe.
yeah. And
Yeah.
people, when I used to do my teacher training, people who came to me who weren't a good fit for what we did, I would refer them someplace else. I just was like, that's what you're looking for is not what we do here. But these
Yeah.
are the places I know who will do that. Because if you come to a program like mine and you just want to learn, beginner, intermediate, advanced on the reformer, and you don't want to do a deep dive into anatomy, biomechanics, intuitive touch, you don't want to do any of that, you are not going to be happy with me.
Yeah. And we don't need, it's identifying your audience.
Yeah. And I do think, I'm into the whole, like, I mean, one of the things I do really enjoy is seeing bodies do evolved choreography. I like it, and
What do you mean by evolved choreography?
like not classic choreography, but like, you see so much stuff now on, social media that is really like complex,
Yeah.
choreography.
It's cool to see what people can do with their bodies and brains, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I would like to do is see more what I would think of as just average humans doing that kind of work. It's very rare to see, like, I can do a lot of things, and I'm sure you can do a lot of things, and Madeline, Elizabeth can do a lot of things, but that's not the bodies you generally see doing all
No.
that complex choreography. The other thing I think is that in working with your average populations, that complex choreography it's just not, it's too much. It's just,
I'm always like, what are we doing? What's the purpose of that? Like, listen, and that's my clientele is no advanced movers. They've lost movement or they're older and stuff like that. And to me, it's the critical thinking of how we're looking at neuroplasticity, how we can actually replicate things rather than just saying repetitions. I just love elevating, I joke, elevating the small talk to medium about movement, just asking questions and not anticipating. Letting, like, my study since I've seen you has been really on the cerebellum, is that should be the teacher. You are not the dictator, you're the translator. So I love how, I hope the listeners, you might have a way different approach than Kelly. Like, I studied with Kelly and we have a way different approach. But at the end of the day, it's all about listening, seeing, and adjusting to that body, which is why I loved your approach. It wasn't rigid. And so I say to students, if you're coming, when people go, what should I do for an MS client? Do not take my course.
yeah.
There is not a magic exercise that is going to make people feel better. Like, come on. So, I know you didn't answer my question, but that question wasn't important to you. You answered a different question. So I appreciate you giving your insight on that. And the last but not least, we could talk about movement for days. I'm trying not to be nerdy on this podcast so much. Mostly because, like, my sisters and friends listen to it and they're like, sometimes you talk too technical. But I'm like, you're not my audience. Love you.
Love you.
But love you, bye. But what I want to ask you, and I'm afraid for the answer, frankly, because I know some of the things you're into. So what is lighting Kelly Kane up these days? I don't want to say guilty pleasure, but what's a rabbit hole you're going down? What's poking at your brain? I'd love it to be outside of movement if it is. Both Madeline and Elizabeth had a similar question. They both were in movement, but I want to know what's in your brain these days.
I think back to like what my chapter was about in the book is I got divorced 5 years ago and I'm 60 now, and I've really been able to create a life where I can truly take care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not the life I've always had. It's not the life I afforded myself when I was building my business in New York. It's not a life that I afforded myself in my partnerships. And that to me feels like the gift of aging is that you, at least for post-fertility human beings with what we think of as classical female biology, I really have spent a lot of time like looking at the earth and the phases of the earth around me and getting to know paths over and over that I ride my bike on, my mountain bike, getting to know waterways that I've seen through the seasons now in Vermont for 10 years, getting to understand how the cycles of the seasons work here and what the earth looks like and how I'm a part of that.
I thought you were going to talk about sexual health. You're talking about the earth, Mother Earth. You're talking about Mother Earth's sexual health.
Well, I would say I'm a little ecosexual, actually.
Hold on. Wait, hold on. Rewind that back. What did you say?
Well, I think I don't know.
Ecosexual. I love that for you. I love that for you.
There's, I studied with Annie Sprinkle. I don't know if you know who Annie Sprinkle is.
I don't.
So she is queer and she was in porn and she was one of my first like sexual health and wellness teachers. And she calls herself an ecosexual. And I think I'm really at this place in my own personal life where, I think as women, or at least for me, when I got divorced, I was like, oh, okay, partnership, right? I got to find partnership. And then I realized I actually didn't really want partnership, right? I was just like, part of the primary relationships I have now are with my children and with the outdoors. And that's just simple. And it's a relationship.
Yeah.
That I've been inadvertently developing since I got divorced. So it's not, I think people think of it as an eros, like an erotic attachment. That's not necessarily how I think about it.
So you're not having sex with trees?
No rubbing up on the trees quite yet.
And I laughed. Why I said that, guys, that I was afraid, because like Kelly, during COVID, you were like really going into the vaginal health. But I think it's important that women understand their bodies.
Yeah.
Like I have an easier time talking about, like with my male clients, talking about erectile dysfunction and peeing a lot at night and understanding their anatomy. One of my clients, he's like, Meg, we're talking about the head. You were telling me about this writing reflex. Like, I feel like my genitals are always to the left, like a lot. Is that bad? Like, I wish women could so it almost like, as much as it would like make me blush when you were like talking about vaginal eggs or whatever you were talking about, but I feel like, again, it's like you being authentically you, so.
I mean, when in the pandemic, I did sexual health and wellness stuff because
shit got weird.
I just, you know what? During Me Too.
No, not with you, shit got weird. I meant shit got weird with the world. I'm sorry.
I mean, the thing is that it was happening during Me Too. And one of the things I realized, and, this concept of consent. And one of the things I realized is that first of all, patriarchy, our vaginas are all ruled by the patriarchy to some great degree. It's just the way it is, right? And so I started to feel like women, like if I could do something to help women understand their bodies, to understand what they like and what they don't like, and
Nobody teaches that.
Well, what they say yes to and what they say no to, because if you don't know what you like, what this body in this moment at this time likes and doesn't like, you can't, in the system of the patriarchy, feel empowered to say no or yes. And then I started to be talking to young women, and they were like, I wanted to help them feel empowered to redirect any sexual contact they had, not by saying, I don't consent to that, but by understanding I'm present with my physicality. This does not feel okay. And I'm going to redirect. And if the redirection doesn't happen, I feel empowered enough to be like, this doesn't feel okay. I got to bow out. This isn't good. And then if that doesn't happen, how do you get out? And so for me, that's what happened. And then I was also teaching intravaginal structures over Zoom, which I felt like it was a perfect opportunity. I could walk people through feeling all the structures of, compressor urethra and pubococcygeus, ilioischiococcygous, transverse perennial structures, but very simply over virtually. So people would turn off their cameras and I would take them through identifying their cervix, identifying those structures. Well, we talk about pelvic floor all the time.
But it's so weird. Like, how do you know where your parts are if you've never seen them, looked at them, or nobody taught you about it? And like, if you think about the male genitals, or like a penis and testicles, they're external. They hang. They give sensation. Whereas females, it's more internal. So it's not like in our daily proprioceptive awareness. And it's just so amazing the lack of education women give. But I also don't think that women don't teach it to younger women, because I don't think they know. Right?
Most of the people who came to my little program
Were they older?
no, young.
Younger?
Yeah. Yeah. And what I thought that was so interesting, because I was anticipating it was going to be older women. And it was really, truly, I had big groups for some time. And it was mostly between, I would say, 21 and 32.
Well, I think every generation says the one after them is a bunch of idiots and isn't doing anything right. But what I can say about the younger generation is they don't, if something, or they are not afraid to question authority. They're not afraid to ask questions. Where I remember like being like very uncomfortable asking questions. I didn't want people to think I didn't know that. Like, it's like, oh, the clitoris. Yeah, I know where that is. Like when I was a teenager, I don't think I knew, right? So I think it was more out of embarrassment, where I feel like kids now, like, I even look at my niece, the confidence. I remember her saying to me, she's like, oh, I'm a theater kid. Like, I'm not in the cool group or something. But like, she was kind of like, but I don't care. Like, there was just this different dynamic where I'm like, the kids will be all right.
They will be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest thing was, just I believe and I'm involved with protecting reproductive freedoms. And I believe that, one of the first signals of authoritarianism is trying to control anyone's body. And the primary way that authoritarianism gets expressed, the first parts of it are regulating female bodies. And so for me, I was feeling all of that. I was feeling this moment that we're in right now. And I started working with abortion care too at that time, and trying to get different kinds of access to abortion pills. And so I think that was, for me as a elder, I think of myself as an elder now. I think that was it felt important to focus some attention there, for sure.
So thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you for reigniting my passion for movement in 2011.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you. Thank you for not 2011. Yeah. Dude, isn't that crazy?
We're getting old, baby. We are getting old.
And we are getting better. I know it's corny. My mom always goes, just wait till you get old. Getting old to me is a privilege. Not everybody gets to do it. Unfortunately, my loss was someone my age. And so I realized, oh shit, like things can change in a minute. So like, do everything, say the wrong thing, who cares? It'll be fine. Yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you for not being competitive, and even hearing that maybe, yes, we can all be less competitive, but I also do think that we can all be more collaborative as well. Like what I saw in this book of sharing ideas. It doesn't have to be my way or the highway. We can all be a little right and all be a little wrong. Yeah. So thank you for that. And thank you for loving nature and protecting female reproductive rights, because your generation and the generation above laid the groundwork I do believe my generation dropped the ball a little bit because it wasn't in our front. Hopefully we're really trying to get more involved now, because I think what you said is critical to understanding our bodies and understanding our rights. So thank you for the 3 questions, for your time. And I hope everybody I hope everybody who has listened to this, easy for me to say, has enjoyed the 40 or 50 minutes with Kelly Kane. And don't let it be the only 50 minutes you spend with Kelly. I will put in the show notes how you can contact with her, learn from her, move with her, be in her presence. You won't regret it. I love you, Kel.
Love you back.